Ah, Deus Ex, one of the great nostalgic games from my past. It truly broke the mold of the first-person shooter genre. Rather than focusing on the typical run-and-gun style of play, it instead brought together a strong futuristic storyline, immersive environments, gameplay that rewarded exploration and creativity, and even RPG-like elements with augmentations and skill progressions. It easily remains near the top of my personal list of greatest PC games of all time. For this challenge, I was inspired by one of the achievements from a later title in the Deus Ex series, Human Revolution, that being the pacifist achievement. This achievement can be earned by beating the entire story of Human Revolution non-lethally. So that seemed like a fun challenge to also undertake in this game. The thing is, going around shooting tranquilizer darts and rendering hundreds of enemies unconscious doesn't exactly scream peace-loving pacifist to me. So instead of just running around the whole game knocking everyone out, I decided to come up with my own unique set of rules to make this as difficult and interesting as possible. Rule 1. All primary and secondary mission objectives must be completed. 2. No killing anyone or knocking anyone unconscious, including robots. The only exception being when it is required by a mission objective. 3. Play on the hardest difficulty, which is realistic. That means we take 4 times the normal incoming damage. No triggering alarms allowed, except for those that are automatically scripted, of course. And finally, we need to prevent violence whenever possible. We'll talk more on this in a bit. I will be tracking any KOs, deaths, and restarts taken along the way so we can keep a tally of our progress. With all that out of the way, let's get started. Before we begin, we are given 5,000 points to spend on 11 different skills. Since we won't have much use for a pistol, I downgrade that skill to give us a few bonus points to work with. I spend my points on training computers, electronics, and lockpicking. This will give us easier access to hacking, bypassing electronic pads, and opening locked doors respectively. This also will hopefully give us the best chance of finding creative, non-confrontational solutions throughout the game. Interestingly, a bug in the game will revert the pistol to a trained skill even if you downgrade it here.
Your appointment to FEMA should be finalized within the week. I've already discussed the matter with the Senator.
After a short cinematic from the perspective of our enemies, we are dropped straight into the first mission, Liberty Island. Man, for a game released back in the year 2000, you have to admire how great it looks. We're met by our brother Paul, who gives us our mission objectives and a weapon of our choice. The obvious choice for this run is to go with the silent and non-lethal mini crossbow. For Liberty Island, we are given 3 objectives: get inside the statue and locate the threat, meet our informant at the North Docks, and release the UNATCO agent who was taken hostage. This mission is really designed to let us get a feel for the game's mechanics, namely stealth, like avoiding sightlines and noise, combat, and environmental interactions.
It all happened an hour ago. The barge docked in the NSA.
I quietly make my way through the various patrolling enemies, eventually arriving at the North Dock. I use a movable crate to obscure the sightline of the patrolling enemy there, then check in with the informant.
About time you showed up. Iron and copper. The statue is copper on an iron frame.
After a very brief conversation, he gives us the key to the front door and sends us on our way. Instead of just walking in the front though, I opt to scale the containers on the side of the structure, allowing us to enter halfway up the statue. After carefully slipping past some patrolling exterior guards, I enter into the hallway, almost coming face to face with an enemy inside. Dropping back a bit, I wait for him to turn around, then slip in behind. Maybe I can sneak into the stairs before he turns back around.
Uh-oh.
Well, that didn't work, but the next attempt does. I should mention at this point that it would be very easy to just sneak up to the top of the statue and complete the final objective outright. As a matter of fact, many missions would be easier and quicker to just go for the primary objectives and be done with it. But you're not all here to see something that's easily completed. So instead we head down into the holding area to rescue the UNATCO hostage, Gunter Herman. I slip into the side hall, then into the room near where he's held. Then we hit our first major obstacle. There's a guard sitting at the desk facing the door and the security computer that will open it. This whole thing is further complicated by a second guard who patrols the hallway outside, regularly poking his head inside this room. First off, I decide to disable the security camera overhead. Then I pull out the silenced mini crossbow and fire at the opposite wall to draw the sitting enemy away.
Is someone there?
It works for a moment, but he searches around the room and spots us, so I have to reset. The second time, I shoot down the hall, then hide just behind the desk to hack into the security computer. Unfortunately, there's not enough cover and he spots me again.
Who was that? I didn't see a uniform.
On the third attempt, I again distract him and open the door, then rush into the room with Gunter to hide from the enemy before he turns around. And yeah, instead of interacting with me and fulfilling the objective, he pulls out a hidden knife and rushes in to attack the enemies nearby. Normally this would be great for us, except it breaks our rule about preventing any violence that we can. I try a few variations of the tactic to draw the enemy away, but he either spots me or Gunter decides to ignore me and rush in to attack. I do get an idea though. After drawing the enemy away, I try relocating his chair, hoping he'll sit in it facing away from the door. But instead, this just causes him to wander aimlessly around the room, which makes the situation even worse than it was before.
This is what I say.
Several failed attempts later, I realize I need a completely new strategy. So, I try a new approach. I head outside and begin to scour the level for any movable objects that I can find. One by one, I systematically move all of them past all the patrolling guards, all the way to the guard room. Small boxes, large boxes, even trash cans, everything's going in. I first use some of them to try and block the patrolling guard so he no longer enters the room periodically. Unfortunately, he busts straight through the trash can on my first attempt. So the second time, I try using only indestructible boxes and bingo, he's now locked out. Time to put my plan into motion. I grab everything else I can find around the level and begin building a wall. I figure if I can somehow get the seated guard trapped outside the wall, then I might be able to prevent him from meeting an unfortunate end with Gunter when he's released. I try a couple times to get him to leave, but he spots me and heads for the alarm. Since setting off alarms breaks another one of our rules, I decide to reset and preemptively hack the alarm panel. Then I try over and over again to get him to leave. Finally, after several tries, he runs beyond the wall, and I move the boxes into place to lock him out. He quickly gives up on chasing me, stuck on the other side. This might actually work. What was that? I can safely say I've never seen anything like that happen before. The code for guards returning to their seat must be really weird in this game. The next time, after trapping him outside the room, I relocate his chair just like I did earlier, preventing him from warping back to it. I then build up the wall to make sure he doesn't have a clear line of sight into the room.
Nothing. I guess we're safe.
Finally, we're clear to rescue Gunter.
Glad you're not hurt, Agent.
Command should not have left us to be so harmed.
He demands a weapon to fight the enemy, which of course I refuse. I mean, what kind of pacifist would I be if I armed him with a weapon? It actually takes a few attempts to get him positioned just right so he doesn't charge out and try and attack the enemy beyond the wall, and also doesn't get spotted by another guard wandering around looking through a window to the side. Now all I have to do is escape myself. I use some flares to distract the enemy and slip through the wall, finally home free. You can see how the strict rules we've set for this challenge can make it quite, well, challenging. All that's left is to sneak to the top of the tower and talk to the leader.
Don't shoot. I surrender.
Mission accomplished. Now we are free to head back to the UNATCO headquarters. Due to our lack of enthusiasm in attacking any enemies, we get some interesting comments from some of the friendly soldiers on the way back.
We got the island secured. How did things look in the statue? The leader surrendered. Now get inside. I'll meet you in Manderley's office, level 2.
Way to go, sir. I thought... Come on in. The retinal scanner.
I initially head to medical to choose my first augmentation and select microfibril muscle to help with moving large objects. Here's a spoiler warning, this is my first big mistake on the run, which we'll discuss more in depth later.
That will be JC's tower.
What's that? Power station. The NSF have Ambrosia in a warehouse protected by you.
After our debriefing, we're sent off to our next mission. And that concludes Liberty Island. We racked up 28 game reloads, mostly due to the Gunter situation. But we prevented him from doing any damage, so we inflicted 0 KOs and no one was killed.
Alright, let's go. The terrorists are in a fighting retreat. A few have barricaded themselves inside Castle.
We're now in Battery Park with the objective of locating the stolen barrel of ambrosia from the previous mission. For those trying to follow along with the storyline at home, NSF terrorists stole these barrels, which contain a vaccine for a global disease outbreak called the Grey Death.
Starving.
Giving the kid on the dock some soy food prompts him to reward us with a code to the back entrance to the enemy hideout.
I spy on them from the crates. The code is 9183.
As we explore the map further, we come across a firefight between UNATCO troops and NSF enemies. Initially, I opt to sit out the fight as there's no way I could prevent the fight from occurring. But then it starts bothering me. Shouldn't we try to intervene in situations like this for the best outcome? I mean, it would be much easier to just let it go and play out, but instead I decide to revise one of the rules that we must try to prevent anyone from being killed on the run. I mean, challenges aren't supposed to be easy after all, right? So I try to do just that by using tranquilizer darts to knock out the enemies. But it turns out to be a lot harder than it looks. I've got to make sure one side of the fight gets knocked out without anyone getting killed in the process. The first few attempts fail as the darts take too long to take effect. So I come up with a strategy to incapacitate both sides of the fight with gas grenades first, allowing me to hit all NSF enemies with tranquilizer darts, knocking them out before the troops can kill them. Walking forward, we spot some enemies below in the subway. I opt to sneak in through a side vent, which reveals what's supposed to be a future objective, which is to free hostages from this subway station.
The NSF terrorists in the subway have threatened to blow up the platform. Watch for booby traps.
Well, somehow I'm gonna have to do this peacefully, and I don't think they're gonna be very open to negotiation. I make my way through the vents all the way to the very back of the station, which lands me right behind the hostages. I wait until the patrolling enemy looks away, then talk to one of the hostages. JC, that's us, tells them to board the train when I open the doors. Could it seriously be this easy? Well, apparently it can.
Good work. The hostages will be all right.
I slip back away through the vents before anyone realizes what happened. head back up through the vent system and opt to take the back door we talked about earlier into the castle hideout. And begin to make my way down past the patrols. This is when things get a little embarrassing. You see, I went all the way down through the vents to the back of the stage, and while avoiding patrols, never spotted our objective, the ambrosia canister. So I figured when I got to this bridge, I had to somehow sneak behind this guy without knocking him out or killing him to beat the stage. In my defense, it's been a really long time since I played this game. Anyway, I try a ton of different ways trying to get the bridge guard to turn around, but he always spots me.
I think we've got an intruder.
I even grabbed some barrels from another room and created my own little hiding spot. After numerous attempts to distract guards and hide, I finally get all of the local guards pulled away from their position. Allowing me to cross over the now unguarded bridge. Only to find myself on the other side of one of the vent exits that I walked through earlier. Well, I committed to not using any guides for challenge runs, so I guess this is one of the costs. Anyway, I make my way further into the base, and this time around, I spot the telltale green glow of the hidden barrel. I could have saved a ton of time going straight to the objective, but oh well.
Objective complete.
Okie dokie. Heading outside after completing the objective, Anna chides us for being too gentle on the enemy. This seems to be a recurring theme.
You were too gentle with the NSF, but I cannot complain. You completed the objective. At least you are not a coward.
But that's the price we pay for this challenge after all. I sneak back into the station and board the subway right under the enemy's nose. And this completes Battery Park. 37 game reloads, most of which from that stupid bridge section I could have avoided, and 4 KOs to successfully prevent anyone from being killed. So far so good. We're now in Hell's Kitchen, where we are tasked with destroying an NSF generator, freeing some more hostages in a hotel, and gathering clues from the underworld bar.
Your primary objective will be to locate and disable its power source. We'll be waiting for you to take down that EMP field. Use reasonable force like you did on Liberty Island.
Hey, at least one person's happy we're playing a pacifist run.
Getting reports of a hostage situation at the Taun Hotel, which is at the southeast corner of the block. When you stayed with Paul...
Soon we run into another big problem. There's another scripted battle between UNATCO and NSF forces, but at a much larger scale. There are enemies and friendlies on both sides of this park, which will begin fighting each other as soon as I approach. So, I restart and use the gas grenade strategy from before. I run through, dropping grenades everywhere, then tried picking off all of the NSF enemies with tranquilizer darts. The Battery Park fight was tricky, but this one proves to be nearly impossible. Trying to get everyone under the effects of the gas at the same time, then knocking out all of the enemies without dying myself proves to be way beyond what I can accomplish. After a few attempts, it's clear that I need a different solution. So I explore the stage to try and figure out if there's anything else I can do. I end up climbing on top of one of the buildings to see if I can get an aerial view of the enemies without triggering the battle to begin. But as soon as I approach, it triggers the fight anyway. I reload again, then I carefully move to the edge of the building. This just barely allows me to see a few of the enemy troops before triggering the fight. Notice how they're showing as green, as friendlies rather than enemies? I managed to fire off tranquilizer darts from a distance, knocking the two of them out. Well, that's 2 down, but that still leaves the rest of the park on the other side. Unfortunately, I can't figure out how to get an angle on them without triggering an impossible battle. I reload to the point after I knock down the first 2, then try exploring around the map for some other ideas. At this point, I enter and exit Paul's apartment looking for something to carry outside to help. I head back to the roof to look around again, and notice the UNATCO troops are just wandering around. Like they would be if the battle was already over. Moving closer, the troops on the other side are doing the same thing. I can't believe it. Somehow, by knocking out the initial enemies, then leaving to another area and coming back, despawned all the other enemy soldiers. I guess I found a solution by accident. I then talked to the bartender, taking care of the secondary objective, and move into the hotel to take on the hostage takers. Since taking them down is required by an objective, we do so. The hotel owner asks us to find his daughter to bring her home. Technically, it's not an objective, but what kind of person wouldn't want to help out? We find her outside in an alley and expediently knock out the thug before he can harm her. After all, we're supposed to protect people from getting killed, right? She tells us a passcode to get to a weapons dealer named Smuggler, who in turn gives us a new secondary objective. Great. In order to achieve this objective, we have to wander through sewers that are guarded by mysterious MJ-12 troops, none of which I'm allowed to dispatch. I sneak around a bit, but this is a wide open space, so it's really difficult to avoid all the enemy's sightlines. I also end up in some really precarious situations. Finally, I'm able to sneak in and quietly hack the security computer to rotate the bridge. I wonder if the guy standing in the center of the bridge was at all bothered by it rotating underneath him. Anyway, after a few restarts, I make my way into the heart of the base, using flares to distract the patrolling enemies. Man, these early missions are supposed to be easy, but when you're not allowed to take anyone down, it sure ups the difficulty factor. I continue to make my way through and then use the water pit nearby to avoid the patrol. And, funnily enough, this one seems to be having a little trouble getting out the door. We finally find the hostage, Ford Schick, but he has to successfully escape to fulfill the objective.
You must be Ford Schick.
Well, I decide to tell him to flee while I cover him, curious as to what will happen, since I can't knock any of the guards out or dispatch them. Oddly enough, just hiding there, he manages to just run past them all and get away. I mean, what do they need me for anyway? Couldn't he have just walked out on his own? Anyway, I carefully make my own way out. Rotate the bridge under the enemy guy's feet one more time and head to the warehouse district. Now, this part should be interesting. We have to make our way along the rooftops with lots of enemy snipers around. They have really good sightlines too, as you can see when the sniper spots me in the dark. I opt to work my way through some of the buildings, then onto the roof of the main building. Now this is going to be a problem. I can't quietly sneak down the ramp because there's a laser that will trip an alarm. And again, we are not allowed to trip any alarm systems. However, jumping over it or dropping down anywhere alerts the guards every time I try it. Trying to sneak through the middle opening eventually gets me spotted by the numerous enemies. Finally, on the 11th attempt, I distract the enemies with flares, then drop down. One guy runs up from below, but thankfully somehow can't see me in the shadows. One more flare draws all the guards from the top 2 levels, giving me just enough time to escape to the control room. I hack into the control computer and fulfill the main objective, but there's a problem. As I start to head out, I spot patrols near the generator that we just set to explode. Those generators then explode and, well, you can see the aftermath. That definitely broke like every rule we have for this run. So, a few attempts later, I managed to use flares to get all 3 guards from the lower levels to run upstairs long enough to escape the blast from the generators.
Good job, JC.
Then I have to make my own escape. I make my way up to the roof, talk to Gunter, and board the chopper before he can cause any unnecessary chaos. Phew.
Let's go.
Hell's Kitchen is complete. 37 restarts, mainly from the sewers, and a ton from the warehouse building. 5 KOs, 3 of which were required by the objective, and 2 more to, save some lives. And still 0 deaths. Excellent. We're back at base between missions, which I only bring up to show one specific event. Outside, some bodyguard mechs instruct you to stay away from the prisoners on level 3.
Agent Denton, at your service.
After you speak to the mysterious Walter Simons upstairs, he heads down to the lower level to interrogate the enemies. If you ignore their instructions, you can come downstairs to watch Simon's interrogation through the window.
Get out of here, Denton. This is none of your business.
Which eventually results in him killing the prisoners.
Ask me if I care.
But not that patient.
The problem is, the door is locked behind him, and it is impossible for us to open it. So how do we prevent this from happening? Well, I'm glad you asked, because I tried following Simon slowly, all the way down the stairs, and I managed to slip in through the door right in front of him. The crazy part is, the devs clearly expected some people to try this, so there are unique conversations you can have inside. If you interrupt the interrogation by knocking out or killing the prisoners, Simons will get pretty angry with you.
Jesus Christ, Denton.
I don't think this has any real repercussions, but I decide to wait until the end of the interrogation, right when he's pulling out his shotgun, and then knock the prisoners out.
But not that patient.
Because at this point, he seems to think he successfully killed them and doesn't get mad at you for interfering.
You saw nothing, Denton. Report to Manderley.
Hello, JC.
This seems like the best option to me, so that's what I went with. 2 more lives saved.
Thank you, sir.
Now that we're done there, we get debriefed and the instructions for our next mission. The bodyguards get angry with us for witnessing Simon's interrogation, but hey, it was worth it.
Get on the helicopter, Mr. Denton. Simons did not appreciate your interference.
Let's go.
2 KOs, but still no deaths. We're now back at Battery Park, where we have to figure out where the NSF are hiding underground. We obtain an entry code from a local, then enter into the subway station from earlier, and type it into the keypad in the phone booth. The booth then rotates to reveal a secret passage to a defunct subway station.
After the quakes, the homeless drifted down here.
We first talk to a leader of a group called the Rooks, who gives us an objective to take out the special substance distributor at the station.
Dealer's name's Rob.
We can't be doing that, but we can knock him out and still succeed at the objective. The leader will get a little irritated, but too bad for him, right? We get another objective to clear a tunnel and get the water running again.
It could be done.
As a result, we're given a secret code to where the underground hideout is, and we can proceed forward. Eventually, I carefully sneak through until I find where the NSF leader is hiding. I hit the secret switch, then... Okay, I'm not gonna lie, that kinda startled me. Now that we've talked to him, all of the enemies in the area become peaceful, and we can proceed with our mission to locate the 3 stolen barrels of ambrosia. I have a little trouble with this section with a couple of patrolling security bots. But eventually make my way through to the base. In the entrance, we locate the first barrel of ambrosia. Now we have to go after the next 2. I explore for a bit and eventually make my way into the courtyard and sneak by a patrolling enemy. Heading over the roof, I suddenly die. What? Well, no worries, I saved just before this, so I reload and... Oh. I caught the attention of an enemy sniper right after I quick-saved. Great. See how quickly you can die on realistic mode? I really don't want to have to load an old save file, so I restart a ton of times before I figure out a way to escape. We finally make our way through some water pipes and into a dock and discover the second ambrosia container.
Great. That should make sure you and I won't miss any shots.
We now find ourselves at an airfield, and we are given the objective to gain access to the 747 hangar to confront the leader of the NSF and find the final barrel of ambrosia. Now, I won't make you watch everything it took to get through this level, but suffice to say it took a lot of time, working my way through patrolling enemies, cameras, and security bots. Once we finally gain access to the hangar, we're confronted by our brother Paul, who admits that he's been working for the NSF all along.
I underestimated your abilities. You work for the NSF. Listen to what? Talk to Lebedev. He can convince you.
We board the plane, locating the final barrel, completing our secondary objective.
That's the last one. Good work.
As we make our way to the back of the plane, I want to pause here for a minute to talk about this next section. Our primary objective is to take out the NSF leader Juan Lebedev. However, when we speak to him, he immediately surrenders, triggering a conversation.
What?
He's in our agent. UNATCO has a policy.
Soon after we finish, Anna joins us and tells us to violate UNATCO policy and assassinate him.
UNATCO policy protects him.
Terminate the prisoner, agent. If you are too afraid, you are ordered to return to base on Manderley's authority. There is a helicopter waiting.
Whether you realize it or not, you're given a choice here. We can do what she says, which would complete the objective. Obviously, we wouldn't kill him, but we can still knock him out, and Anna will treat it as if we followed orders. Just to note, it's a bit tricky, as it tends to take a few seconds to get a KO, and in the meantime, she will try and take him out first, so we have to be quick. Or we can walk away, which will prompt Anna to do the job for us and give us a hard time about it later. However, beyond that, there's also a secret solution. We can take out Anna, preventing her from killing the leader, and then we can let him live instead. The crazy thing is, this is exactly what I did in my very first playthrough years ago. Imagine my surprise when it worked, and then events in the rest of the story were structured around this decision. I was absolutely blown away by the foresight of the developers. The easiest way to take Anna out, of course, is just to plant a LAM explosive proximity device at the entrance and let it do the work for us. But this is obviously a problem for our run, because we would be killing her when we have the option to instead knock him out. So I decide to think outside the box a bit and see if I could knock her out instead. I try a few strategies, first with pepper spray and tear gas, but that just makes her mad and has her attack us.
910.
Then I try an EMP grenade and the baton to knock her out. They don't go so well. After several failed attempts, I have an idea. I place a proximity lamp explosive inside the bathroom, then I use a gas grenade, which causes her to run away towards the explosive. When it explodes, it takes her to a low health fleeing state, meaning she goes invisible and will no longer attack me. Perfect. I'm now free to use the baton to knock her out. So I begin chasing a mostly invisible Anna throughout the plane with the baton, eventually cornering her. And then, well, it doesn't exactly work as hoped. I fast-forwarded this part, but you all get the idea. So it appears that Anna is completely immune to being knocked unconscious. This is very unfortunate for us. This leaves us with only one option. I increase my low-tech weaponry skill, and then use the baton to knock him out quickly, succeeding in the objective.
Congratulations, Agent. You are one of us after all.
But I figure if I leave him here, Anna might finish him off anyway, so I decide to take it one step further. I carry the unconscious enemy through the level to a normally inaccessible location, and then hide him there. It's kinda silly, I know, but it does go along with the spirit of the challenge.
I'm ready. Let's move out.
Get in.
And with that, the train station, Helibase, and Airfield levels are now complete. 32 restarts with 2 knockouts, both of which were required by objectives. We're once again back at UNATCO headquarters, where I head down to medical and add a new augmentation that helps with bullet resistance. This should come in handy later. I also pick up the important speed boost augmentation, which will increase running speed, jumping height, as well as decrease falling damage. This is by far my favorite augmentation in the game, and it's just objectively better than the walk silent augmentation.
Objectives complete, sir.
Good.
Then I head up and get debriefed by our boss Manderley. He orders us to Hong Kong, but our pilot lets us know that our brother Paul needs help in the apartment back in Hell's Kitchen. So we head there first.
Your brother's hurt pretty bad.
We head down into the apartment to talk to Paul, who's suffering under the effects of a kill switch that Walter Simons has turned on due to his betrayal. He gives us an objective to reinvestigate the warehouse from earlier for evidence that UNATCO is part of a government conspiracy. As we head down from the apartment, we find the hotel owner and his daughter who are about to be threatened by a thug named Jojo. Interestingly, your decisions here will impact the side storyline for these characters. If we saved Sandra earlier, which we did, give her father a weapon here, then allow him to at least attempt to defend himself against Jojo, they'll end up with the good ending of their side storyline. I time it carefully so that I knock Jojo out to prevent any unnecessary bloodshed while still fulfilling this completely optional little side story. After a brief detour to shoot some hoops, we head to the warehouse to confirm Paul's story about betrayal from UNATCO and to transmit a warning to his allies. This area is full of occupying friendly UNATCO troops. Once the message gets sent out, however, they will all become hostile. So, I first prepare an escape plan by placing some boxes on the side of the building to allow me to jump off the roof and avoid a huge firefight. I head up to the top and send the transmission and immediately sprint out towards the edge of the roof. I jump and land on the boxes, and only then does it hit me. I'm trapped in a dead end. I set the boxes on the wrong side of the building. That's embarrassing. On the next try, I activate the speed and jumping augmentation to reduce falling damage and jump off the correct side of the building this time. We're now free to make our way back to the apartment to talk to Paul. I remember from previous playthroughs that we're going to face some stiff opposition as soon as we speak to him, so I need to do some preparations. I activate my strength augmentation and do a little rearranging of the furniture to blockade the door. Then I speak to Paul to initiate the sequence. Now this is another secret branch in the story that I missed in my first time playing the game. Paul urges you to escape out the window in the back while he holds off the enemy. This unfortunately results in his death in the story. There is an alternative though. If we fight alongside him and escape out the front door instead, Paul will survive and be captured. I don't particularly want to have the bad result for the storyline for this playthrough, so I opt to try for the latter.
Don't be a fool. Run!
But I also need to avoid unnecessary violence. I opt to try and make a run for it. I activate a temporary flak vest for my inventory and bolt out of the room. I don't make it very far. Wow, that's a lot of bad guys. I try again and this time activate both the vest and a temporary thermoptic camouflage. This will briefly make me invisible to enemies. I again make a break for it using my speed enhancement this time. The sound of footsteps confuses the enemies long enough that they don't immediately breach the apartment. I jump down and then get stuck on a guy blocking the only exit. He finally moves, then my camo runs out. I get lucky though, and they don't immediately fire at the guy that just suddenly appeared out of thin air. Getting to the entrance triggers a loading zone, meaning I cannot be followed further. Phew. We're not out of danger yet though. The streets are crawling with our former allies. I use a flare to create a distraction to get out of the doorway. Now we have to make it through a maze of wandering enemies and make it down to the subway entrance. Since we can't knock anyone out, this is definitely a challenge. I'll spare you the failed attempts and skip right to the one that worked. It's actually pretty cool. Check it out.
They trying to kill you or something?
Alright, we take the subway to Battery Park, but I'm surprised to see Anna Navarro waiting for us at the other end. I quickly run away and hide in the vents to avoid a battle. I've never played through this game with her alive at this point, so seeing her here is quite the surprise. I wonder what else I'll encounter in this branch of the story. Reaching the top, we are confronted by Gunter, who demands that we surrender.
There is no escape. It is surrender.
Technically, you can fight it out here, but it is scripted to be hopeless as well as inescapable, so there's no real point.
I surrender.
I opt to surrender, and then that completes Hell's Kitchen 2. Only 8 restarts in total, and 1 KO to protect the hotel owners. Still no deaths. We wake up to find ourselves in a prison cell in an unknown location. I'm again shocked to see Anna visit us to have a conversation I've never heard before.
I came to watch you die.
You're early. I've got at least 20 hours left.
We are then contacted by a mysterious Daedalus, who helps us escape and gives us some objectives. We have to find Paul and get info from him to beat the kill switch that has been activated for both of us, escape the Majestic 12 facility, and find our old equipment that was taken from us when we were knocked out. After we are released, I head to the armory to get our equipment. This results in our first encounter with giant military bots. I slip past them easily enough though. Once I open the door, the enemy at the desk immediately spots me, then runs to trigger the alarm. No good. I restart and try throwing objects to get his attention, but it's no use, he just ignores them. I trigger my speed augmentation, then manage to slip around the corner before he spots me this time. Okay, now I'm behind him, which is great, but I still need to get my equipment without him seeing, and he's just sitting there staring at it. Luckily for me, he gets up and walks out of the room. But as soon as I move forward, he immediately returns to his seat, forcing me to restart when I get spotted by him.
Hey, stop right there.
Upon his return, he sits back down and I settle in to wait for him to move again. And wait. And wait. And he never moves. Apparently, he only gets up once. The thing is, I already saved my game, so now I'm stuck here behind him, unable to knock him out and unable to leave without being spotted. Great. I don't really want to restart to an old save, so I come up with an alternate plan. After disabling the patrolling mechs from an upstairs security computer, I jump quietly to the left-hand table, then edge forward to hack the alarm panel. This will render it useless and make sure we don't violate the no alarms rule when we get spotted. I then run out quickly in full view of the enemy getting spotted in the process. He gets up and tries unsuccessfully to set off the alarm, then gives chase. I run around the hall trying to get him out of the room, but when I enter the other door, whoa, go back! This time he chases me around the outside hallway, buying me enough time to place some boxes down to block the door. Now that he's locked out, I grab all of my equipment, which annoyingly only includes one of the gas grenades I had earlier, probably a bug in the game. Then out of curiosity, I head out the other door on the opposite side of the room to check on the guard. Sure enough, he's on an endless patrol trying to get back into the armory. You know, we'll just leave him to it. I eventually make my way to the medical area and link up with Paul, achieving that objective, then head to the labs.
Are you alright?
There are some neutral scientists, but a man in blackguard is sitting facing an augmentation canister I really want. Using my pistol and firing at the wall behind to distract him, I rush in and grab it while getting yelled at by a scientist. Now with the objectives completed, we can finally get out of here. I head through the command center and out the security door. The last guard is easily distracted with a well-placed silence shot and I head out. We then find ourselves behind the previously locked back door of the UNATCO headquarters. Who knew there was an entire compound behind there? Well, I mean, I did. I've played this before, but I bet some of you didn't. Anyway, we still have to be cautious as we are no longer friends with the UNATCO troops. I sneak my way to Alex Jacobson, who promises to give us his key to the exit if we get rid of Anna Navarra.
A harrowing escape.
Thanks for tuning in.
Give it to you, but I don't know. Anna's on patrol. If she found out...
I'll take care of Anna.
That's again some new dialogue I've never seen before. Along with that, we have the secondary objective of obtaining Anna's kill phrase from two specific computers. We obtain one half of the phrase by logging into the computer in her office. If you try to click the button for Gunter's kill phrase, the computer says it's not available yet. I begin heading to the lobby when I accidentally run into Anna, who quickly attacks us.
I will have to kill you myself.
Take your wish.
This will be easy.
I run away and quickly glance at the unpickable door that we're trying to get through. Eventually, I do escape her and make my way into Joseph Manderley's office, our former boss, interrupting a conversation between him and Walter Simons. It ends with Manderley trying to shoot us, forcing us to run away again. Well, this won't work. I reload prior to encountering Anna, and this time go to Manderley's office, hiding behind the desk, preventing him from immediately attacking us. Now I can access his computer, which gives us the second half of Anna's kill phrase. Now when we talk to Anna and use the kill phrase, she immediately self-destructs, avoiding the fight entirely.
Take your best shot, Flatlander woman.
How did you know?
We can then head back down and talk to Alex again, getting his exit key.
You gave Anna exactly what she deserved. I've sat here and watched her kill dozens of suspects. Now I'm not so worried about sticking out.
This fulfills both a primary and secondary objective. Now all that's left is to board the chopper.
Oh, I cannot forgive. No. Not the killing of Agent Navarre.
Now viewers, technically we haven't done any direct harm to Anna. I mean, we were just having a nice conversation, right? But it still doesn't sit well with me that she has to die for the door to be unlockable. So I create a save point here, then try to recreate the strategy I used on the airplane. I figure if I can get her to a fleeing state again, maybe I can somehow knock her out successfully this time. This means I have to carry out some sort of plan prior to obtaining the kill phrase from Manderley's office, then obtain the kill phrase after we're done. My plan is to set a lamb explosive on the stairway, then grab her attention. Hopefully the lamb will only damage her and I can try the baton again. This takes several attempts to get it right, but here, I get her to follow me down the stairs, detonating the lamb but not taking her out. Then I have to dodge some nearby troops to get to a hiding space. I do an embarrassingly bad job of avoiding them, very nearly dying in the gunfire. Finally, I make it back downstairs and hide until they stop pursuing me. Creeping out of the room, I heal up at the medical lab, then sneak back upstairs to locate Anna. She's actually not in her invisible state yet, so I pull out the rifle and attempt to engage her. Man, the recoil on this gun without any trading points is insane, but I do enough damage to get her to go invisible and begin running. I still have to escape the surrounding troops closing in, so I jump down and immediately throw my weapon on the ground. Wrong button. I pick it back up and run downstairs to hide again. Once everything settles down again, I risk a peek out the door. There's the guard that was running after me, but if you look really closely, you can also see a faint shimmer in the air to his left. Yep, that's Anna. I try using a gas grenade to distract her, but it doesn't quite work as planned. I give it a bunch of tries, but she attacks me every time now, even though she's invisible, so I'm stuck. I load again from before and try several more times to get her either knocked out or in a fleeing state, and I am unsuccessful every time. Now normally I avoid researching any walkthroughs and tips related to game challenges, but I made an exception here and did a bit of searching around, and it's a good thing I did. Apparently Anna is the only character in the game that is immune to all non-lethal weapons. Bummer. That means there is no option for a non-lethal takedown. But there was one helpful piece of information I found as well. Some people report that they were able to get her to run away in certain circumstances and open the door for them without having to fight. So I begin trying it. I load back up before our conversation and sneak up to throw gas grenades from various angles. Since I haven't talked to her yet, she's not showing up yet as an enemy. I try over and over, from the stairs, from below the balcony, but nothing works. Each time I check, I just find Anna standing or running around with the door locked behind. Finally, I throw a grenade from below and bounce it off the ceiling. I hear a couple of steps, but I can't see Anna from the right side. I then sneak around the left stairs, and I see it. The door is open.